Okay, so it's on now.
Alright.
And then we need to say hi.
Hello!
Hi! I hate that.
I am Brittany.
Hi. I'm Amy. I'm a Ruka Rose on Instagram and YouTube.
I'm Brit_Oakley on Instagram, and that's kind of my only online presence, so.
It's fine. It's fine. We're here starting a new brain baby. A new brain baby project, and we wanted to show it to you all. So
this is like our pilot episode.
Yeah.
We don't quite know how to navigate this yet. We just had an idea, and we both really felt strongly and passionate about it, so here we are.
The name thing first.
Let's do intros.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's kind of get to know everybody.
Can you introduce yourself, please, to the class?
So I'm Brittany, and I've had an obsession with human behavior and with true crime pretty much my whole life, since about the second grade when I got really into the O.J. Simpson trial. They let us watch it in school, which was probably questionable decisions on the part of many educators and administrators.
I've never heard of a school doing that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it wasn't okay. But after seeing that, and just I've never heard a story like that. I'd never heard of anybody doing anything violent like that. I grew up in a really small town, so there wasn't a lot of violence or crime.
So it was exciting.
It was something just fascinating, and then I discovered unsolved mysteries. That was my next foray into Ferrari. That was my next Ferrari into like kind of paranormal and more crime, unsolved, kind of mysterious things. So it's always something I've been passionate about, and I'm going to kind of talk about that aspect of things today, since that's my area of not expertise, but deep fascination.
Deep fascination.
Yes.
Deep fascination.
I spend a lot of time
fascination.
studying the subject on my own accord. So,
yes.
And then Amy, tell us about
Amy
you.
Rose, Ruka Rose. So I've been interested in murder and paranormal things for a long time, but not as deep as her, I think.
You're not an extremist?
I will listen, not an extremist.
Control?
I listen to it a lot. I grew up with my mom listened to it all the time. She'd play it all night and she'd like fall asleep with it on.
Yes.
And I'd hear it just like from the living room, like coming in my room all night.
That's good
night.
parenting.
It's great. It was great. I didn't wake up and hear people talking about murder every night. It's fine. And then past that, I just listen to these stories all the time, but I don't remember the details. Like, I don't keep it in my mind for a long time. I do keep astrology in my mind a long time.
And you are fantastic
and so
at it.
This is my part here. Is I'm going to be doing astrological interpretations of really connecting the astrology to what happened in real life, and with the unsolved things, I think would be really interesting to kind of get like an energetic point of view of what could have happened. I've been studying astrology for over 7 years. I do readings online. I do all types of readings.
Do my daily personal reading, which I pay for and subscribe to happily.
I have a daily on my Patreon. I offer daily personalized readings and general readings and more, so you can check that out. Probably a link somewhere.
In the show notes.
In the show notes.
We're going to have show notes, and we're going to have a link in there with information and facts.
That's perfect.
Lots of facts.
Eventually I want to get an astrology website set up. I've got tons of things, tons of content with that. And my biggest presence is on Instagram right now. You can check out my astrology stuff on there. And that's most of it. That's most of my stuff.
Sweet. So
that's my intro.
Bottom line, we're trying to do something that's got a marriage, if you will, between murder, paranormal activity, astrological reading, and then are you doing birth chart reading? Is that
I'm going to be doing,
what is
this is okay.
terminology? I don't
There's
know.
going to be a lot of different things I'll probably pull, because you can pull charts for tons of shit. Like, it's our first swear. It's our first swear.
This is going to be a dirty podcast.
There's tons of types of tons of types. that's what's all up now.
There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of different types of charts you can pull. So I'll probably definitely be pulling their natal charts, and then you can also look at transit charts for around the times they were killed.
Okay.
I can look at if they moved somewhere, how that could have affected them. Because I know a lot of people will they move out of the state and then something crazy happens.
That's the theme of this story.
Ooh, we have a...
Yes, we do have that. So if you haven't kind of put that together by now, Amy does not know about the story. She does not know the details.
I've probably heard it before, but I don't remember the details.
Right.
So.
And then I don't know anything about the astrology end of it, so we're going to be kind of informing each other and then having a conversation around that. Conversation. So, we'll just go ahead and spoiler alert. We are going to be doing an infamous unsolved murder of Elizabeth Short, better known as the Black Dahlia. So,
Black Dahlia.
I know this has been done a lot. I'm not going to try to outdo any of the amazing people that are already doing a lot of this incredible research. I got my information on Wikipedia, and other pieces of it are just, I don't even know the source because I've heard this story so many times from so many different sources, and I've watched so much and listened to so much about it. That I've picked up a lot of details from different places. I can't appropriately credit all the people that deserve that. But we'll go ahead and just kind of get into her life and who she was and learn about the star of our little section here. So Elizabeth Short was born in the suburbs of Boston, Massachusetts. She was born in 1924. She had several siblings. She had 4 sisters.
Well, that's too many sisters.
And I'm an only child, so I don't know how many sisters is too many. So apparently 4 is that number.
It's too many, yeah. I've got 1, but that's enough.
That's okay. Well, 1 is also enough.
1 is enough. You don't need more than that.
4 is too many. So she was the 3rd oldest, so not the baby. I guess she would kind of be maybe a middle child-ish in that setting. And she was raised and spent most of her life there. Her dad had a really interesting job that kind of cracks me up. So he built miniature golf courses. So his job in the 1920s is to go around and build fucking miniature golf courses.
I've heard of people wanting to grow up and design roller coasters and design theme parks, but a miniature golf course is way more doable.
So it's like,
that's amazing.
Exactly. He's like an engineer.
It's like without the pressure of like people riding and falling off the rides.
There's literally no risk. It's a risk-free idea. Like everybody is safe at mini golf. So he did that until the 1929 stock market crash. So this was a huge national crisis, obviously. That was a big deal going into the Great Depression. So when that happened, he lost most of his savings, and the family became really broke. So you're talking a family of 7 people, 5 little girls, a mom and a dad. Well, then there was a horrible tragedy. His vehicle was found abandoned on the Charlestown Bridge. I'm not good at landmarks, so Charlestown Bridge.
Okay.
And it was assumed that he had committed suicide because his vehicle was parked there. He was nowhere to be found, and they assumed he jumped into the Charles River.
Okay.
So, of course, the mother believed Phoebe was her name. That's a good name. Believing that her husband had died, she decided she would take the children, and her daughters moved into a really small apartment. And she got a job as a bookkeeper and worked really hard to try to support them, but they definitely struggled.
Yeah.
So early life was kind of had a big tragedy, and then fucking 12 years later, Elizabeth's mom gets an apology letter in the mail from her dead husband. This piece of shit. And revealed the fact that he's alive. And so when all that shit went down, he lost all his money. Instead of, staying and helping his family or committing suicide, that didn't happen. He faked his own death and moved to California to start a new life, And then he was like feeling bad, I guess, and was like, I'm writing this. What did that fucking letter say? Like, What do you say that makes nothing you can say in a letter makes that okay? Like,
I can't think of anything that would be like, oh, okay, I understand.
Dear
like,
Phoebe, I'm sorry I'm a piece of shit, but I didn't die. I'm sorry that you had a funeral for me, and I'm still alive.
All she told me about this was like, make sure you have his birth information because we'll have to pull his chart too. He was an asshole.
I told her that there was an asshole in the story that we needed to look into, and his name is also, it was Cleo.
Right, I saw that when I looked him up. I was like, I just looked at his name and his birth information.
I didn't know that Cleo.
I was like, because I saw the mom and the dad name, the parent name on Wikipedia, and I was like, which one is the dad?
Phoebe. Cleo.
I'm all for gender bending
couple,
stuff.
A progressive lesbian couple.
I mean, I'm all for like gender neutral things. I raised my son pretty gender neutral, but it just threw me off with Cleo.
Yeah,
I've never seen Cleo as a name.
The only name I've ever heard of Cleopatra, and then Cleo the fish on Pinocchio. It's the only other Cleo I know. Fun fact. So after all of that happened, when they found out that he was just like a total dick, Elizabeth, when she turned 18, actually decided to move out there with her father. So she hasn't seen him since she was 6 years old. And as soon as she finds out that he's alive, she goes out there to live with him.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So she had a big relocation go on there. So she went from suburbs of Boston to California. And
that's a big move.
Yeah. And he was working at a naval shipyard in the San Francisco Bay. And they had, of course, as you can probably imagine, they had a strained relationship. There's some problems.
Right.
You know, when you fake your death and leave your family starving in a tiny apartment to fend for themselves. That's a lot to unpack. So they argued all the time, and after Elizabeth moved out there, she moved out of his apartment within a month. Like about a month later.
So she was like, okay, bye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think she moved in, it was like maybe November, and then she was out by like beginning of January, so not even 2 months time that worked out.
Well, also, how long do you really want to live with?
I don't know. I don't know what I couldn't find any information about like her. I would assume she wanted to have a relationship. I mean, well, that was a pretty big move. Like, you find out he's alive, and it's like, oh, well, I have to get to know him.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's what happened, but total speculation. That seems like a heavy motivator to go out there. But after that, she got a job at a base exchange. She lived with friends, and then for a little while, she lived with an Army Air Force sergeant who she was dating, and it was reported that he was abusive towards her. So she left him and left that area and moved to Santa Barbara, so still in California. And then she was arrested when she was 19 years old for underage drinking at a local bar. So Elizabeth was like she sounds like a lot of fun. She's kind of a party girl. When that happened, this is super weird to me, but juvenile authorities, when that happened, juvenile authorities sent her back to Boston, or wanted to send her back to Boston to live with her mom. She didn't end up going there. She actually went to Florida instead, and only ended up making like kind of random trips to Boston to see family. She did not want to go back there. So, but why was she juvenile at 19?
I don't know
weird.
what that means. I don't know if that means. I was like, well, she wasn't underage, so were the cops underage?
I mean, well, she wasn't 21. Assuming drinking age was 21 then, being 19 and getting caught underage drinking. I mean, technically in that way she's a minor, but she's not a minor.
She's not a minor.
Or did the laws change? I
don't know.
We're not attorneys. We're really qualified in any way.
I have no desire to
speak to these details. So next,
I'm pulling charts, by the way. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not ignoring you. I'm putting in all the information.
I figured you were taking some sort of a note, maybe writing down some important details that I'm dropping. Dropping those deets.
Those deets, man.
So terrible.
I mean, I'm gonna pull these charts and look at them for the first time. So
yes,
I'm literally pulling them up right now.
This is a live looking at charts.
Okay.
Once Elizabeth ended up going back to Florida for a little while, she moved back to California around the time she was 22. And then she spent the last 6 months of her life in the LA area. And And before she died, she was working as a waitress and rented a room behind the Florentine Gardens nightclub on Hollywood Boulevard. So she was where the action was. Like, you know,
my gosh.
Everything I've ever heard about her is that she's the type of girl who liked to go out. She liked to have fun. She liked to date. She liked to, you know, have a good time. And people described her as an aspiring actress, that she wanted to be a film star. But there was no actual credits or any acting credits. Nothing to support but that she actually did any acting, but that it was maybe a dream or a goal of hers. And she was beautiful. She was absolutely stunning. So I feel like she could have definitely been a screen star of the the 40s.
It sounded like she was living for that.
She was fun and outgoing and beautiful, but unfortunately, you know, bad things happen. The last time she was seen alive was on January 9th in 1947. So you got to think, like, it's in California and it's January, so it's cold, but it's not that cold.
Yeah.
So you're probably talking like 40, 50 degree weather. It's not like it's like it is here, where it gets down to, you know, 10 degrees and it's freezing. So she had just gotten home from a trip that she took to San Diego. She was dating a 25-year-old married salesman. And they went on like a little fling weekend. So she definitely liked to date and liked the men, and they liked her. So he said he dropped her off at the Baltimore Hotel in downtown LA. And she supposedly had plans to meet her sister, that her sister was coming, one of her sisters, was coming into town that day. So he says he dropped her off.
Yeah.
That was the last time he saw her. I couldn't find any reports of her sister actually going there, if they actually did anything together, because this was just kind of like, there's nothing on record that I could find of the sister saying anything to corroborate that evidence or that alibi of I dropped her off here and then. So then some people of the Baltimore, like some of the staff and just like patrons that were there, said they saw her in the lobby using the telephone that same night, so that corroborates it. And that she was seen at a cocktail lounge about like half a mile down the road from the hotel.
Ooh.
I think I said the Baltimore. It's the Biltmore.
That's confusing. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
no.
Biltmore.
Only the facts here.
We got the solid facts.
We've got the facts for you. So that was the last time anyone saw her alive, and that was January 9th. So 6 days later, in the morning of January 15th, 1947, this is when her body was discovered, and it was so sad. So it was found in a vacant lot in LA. The neighborhood was really underdeveloped, so a lot of the area was vacant, but still it was a wide open area, like a grassy area right next to the sidewalk. It was a really public location where it was very clear the person wanted the body to be found. And a local mom, just like walking with her 3-year-old daughter, is the one who actually discovered Elizabeth's body around 10 a.m. And of course, this is the famous saying, like initially she thought she had come across a mannequin. Everybody always says that. Like,
really?
It's so common. It's one of those things that, like, it's almost like your brain tricks you. Like, you see this,
like, well, of course it's not a dead body. Of course it's this.
You're seeing something absolutely horrific, and it's like our brain is trying to trick us. Like, we're hitting a level of cognitive dissonance where we've got to rearrange the story and believe that it's something else. But once she realized that it was a body, she ran to a nearby house and called the police. So, just kind of the state of the body. This is one of the most infamous things about this case. This is what made it so salacious. It wasn't like it was just a murder. Her body was so severely mutilated. She was completely severed at the waist. All of the blood had been drained out of her body. So it was really clear that she was not killed at the location that her body was dumped. I mean,
so she was moved.
There was no blood at the crime scene. Like all of the blood had been emptied in what is speculated to be like a bathtub. That somebody had cut her in half and drained all the blood. So her skin was just this porcelain white. I've seen all the pictures of the autopsy photos and the crime scene photos.
We won't be showing them.
No, but I mean, it's one of those things I don't recommend looking at it, especially if you're sensitive. You know, it's a major trigger to look at something like that. But it just helps me to kind of understand what the victim really went through.
And you study these types of things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something that I'm really passionate about learning and really just kind of getting into where the victim was and what they went through and what that experience was like for them and how much they must have suffered.
Yeah.
And it sucks that this is still unsolved. But they presume that she'd been dead for about 10 hours before she was discovered. So that would put it right around like midnight. So no one knows her actual time of death. But it's said to believe either the 14th or the 15th, the early hours. But they found her at 10 a.m., 10 hours prior. That puts it
We have a rough
at
time.
midnight.
I can pull a rough time. Yeah.
Also, if this person was super sick and wanted to kill her at midnight. Like, you know, we don't know what kind of person we're dealing with, but that seems really witchy and just like something that maybe somebody that's this demented, I don't know.
Right.
And there's no telling how long she was held captive before that. But the other interesting thing about it was that her body was completely washed clean. So not only was there no blood, like, at the crime scene, there was no blood on her body. There was, she had been thoroughly washed and cleaned.
Wow.
So her face had been slashed from the corners, so to make like a clown smile that was really upsetting. The lower half of her body was positioned a significant distance away from the upper half, so you're seeing a torso, a space, and then the lower half of the body. That
kind of reinforces that mannequin thing, like, mannequin broke.
The legs were spread open.
Wow.
She had been posed. Her arms were positioned at right angles, up above her head. So it was really degrading. That whoever did this to her wanted to humiliate and degrade her. And the way that she was positioned, and she was nude, and she was spread open, and it was just completely devastating. So, this is the weirdest thing about these times. So, like, after her body was discovered, like, now this would never be a thing, because most police officers now follow a protocol of, like, getting the scene situated, and you are, like, roping it off, and you are getting the crime scene, like, nobody cross it. But back then, a bunch of, like, looky-loos can just come hang out. So reporters
just,
were
like, standing around.
Yes, like onlookers and reporters just, like, glaring at this poor woman's body. So it was just horrible. It's crazy to think about that. One person who was on the scene who was super famous that I just want to mention is Aggie Underwood. I don't know if you've heard much about her.
I don't think so.
So she's a super badass, really tenacious reporter in the 40s, like during all this time. I can't remember like the span of her career, but she was pretty famous. And she was just a badass woman in a man's world, like kind of doing the work that men did. And she was one of the first reporters on the scene for this story. So she's just kind of a badass. So making huge strides for women, which is just pretty cool in a non-traditional work environment.
I keep forgetting that this was a while ago.
Yeah, this was 1940.
To remind myself what year this is.
1947. Yeah. So we're talking back in the day. Again, like, seeing all these photos is a really devastating scene, but things that they found near the body, so evidence, there was hardly any. Obviously the body was scrubbed clean, but nearby they did find a footprint. So there was a footprint, there were tire track marks, and then there was like it's described as a cement bag, so I guess like a bag that held concrete.
I've seen, I know, those are kind of like hemp bags.
Like a
big
burlap kind of material,
bags,
like a potato sack sort of a thing. So they found one of those at the scene, and it had like a fluid, like watery blood fluid inside. So assuming that is how she was brought to the location, that she was transported. So she was, during her autopsy, so she's 5'5". She weighed 115 pounds, had light blue eyes, brown hair, and this was a weird fact. They said she had badly decaying teeth. So that's just an interesting fact.
I don't know what dental care was like in the 40s.
I would assume it wasn't
40s.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Just going out on a limb that it wasn't great.
Yeah,
I don't know. But she had ligature marks on her ankles, wrists, neck.
And those have to be imprinted before death, don't they?
Right. That's what leads me to speculate that maybe she was, tied up for a period of time, possibly tortured. There's also, because of the state of her body, they assume there was maybe sexual assault took place. There were.
She could have been drugged, right?
I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming they did toxicology.
Okay.
I couldn't find any details about
Yeah.
that. But they said she also had lacerations on her forearms, her chest. She had pieces of her skin that were completely cut off around her breasts. Again, like the lower half of her body had been completely removed underneath the lumbar spine. So it's between a specific vertebrae. It's a trained skill. It's a skill that you have to be taught to do. It's actually a procedure that they used to do in the 1930s. And
Whoa.
let me see if I can pronounce this right. It's called a hemicorporectomy.
Oh, okay.
So cutting a corpse in half is literally kind of what that translates to. But it's a specific technique that was actually taught. So during a specific time frame of the 1930s, you're talking it's 17 years later. So it's somebody who is probably an
Probably
established,
has a background.
an established medical person. So somebody who's definitely older, who was around during the time to learn that. That's just a really interesting detail. So it's a super specific procedure. It would require medical training, and the coroner noticed very little bruising along the incision line, so that says it was done after death, so a post-mortem cut, which is probably good because, oh my God, it's just horrific. So
I'm hoping that she was not conscious for a lot of this. That's in the back of my mind.
The cuts on her face, one side had a 3-inch cut. That was pretty significant. The other side was 2.5 for the horrible smile. The skull wasn't fractured. There was bruising on her scalp and a small amount of bleeding, so it was consistent with blows to the head, but the cause of death was determined to be hemorrhaging from the lacerations to her face and then just being in shock from the blows to the head.
Wow.
They took samples from her body, testing for sperm. Everything came back negative because the body had been hardcore clean. Like, there was not shit to scrape off. The notoriety of this murder has spurred so many confessions over the years, and some are like stupid false. Like some of them have been like people who weren't even alive at the time she died. Like they hadn't even been born yet. They confessed, but they've had over
Sorry, excuse me.
They've had over 500 people confess to this. And nobody's been connected, definitively to the murder.
And I noticed something interesting on the chart when you said that, so remind me.
Oh, okay. It's just so weird. To this day, there are still 14 people, all men, that remain on the suspect list, and the case is still unsolved. It's probably going to always be unsolved because we don't have that crucial evidence.
There's no way to...
A lot of people have, accused their relatives and, genetic relatives.
They must have been the person.
I've actually seen specials about it where one guy was like, it was a conspiracy theory thing, but he was like, no, it was my grandfather, and here's why, and it totally made sense. Wow. And also, he was like, basically, his grandpa was a piece of shit, capable of this, and he found things in his grandpa's possessions, I guess, that led him to believe that. But again, unsolved, not.
If there was a really strong suspect or anything, I could pull their charts. It's really interesting to get a vibe on what's going on with them. But
maybe a follow-up. We could do a follow-up where we look at the suspects. We could do a whole.
That's a good idea.
This case is so crazy. There could be a whole mini series.
A whole series
about
let's just talk about Black Dahlia for 5 episodes.
Right. I don't want to go too deep into everything that happened. Everybody knows kind of the basis of the story, but just long story short, there's a lot of theories of what happened.
Yeah.
Ultimately, some monster took her life in her prime. She was only 22. She sounds like a badass chick I would want to hang out with. She was kind of like a rebel. She liked to drink and date, party. People speculated that she was a sex worker, but that has never been confirmed.
Right. I feel like that label is thrown at a lot of people, especially probably in the 40s.
Right. Only they used way more. They used degrading terms like prostitute instead of sex worker.
Right.
Terrible. But she did do something that was called dating for dinner. That was kind of seen as living a high risk lifestyle. So basically, when you can't afford dinner, you're gonna go on a date and you're gonna let dudes take you out and buy you dinner. Apparently, in the 40s, that's how she got by. That's how she knew she was gonna have dinner. So she's a little bit of a homewrecker. She had some scandalous affairs. She dated married men. So salacious for the 40s,
Right.
So it's one of those. This
salacious is a good word.
Yes. Yes. This type of crime is still really stigmatized today, so I can't imagine what it was like back then.
Right.
But that's the gist of what happened to Elizabeth Short, also known as the Black Dahlia. And that was the name they came up with after she had died. A lot of that has been attributed to different reporters and journalists. Yeah. But I feel like Aggie Underwood was somehow involved in that. I want to say she was one of the people who coined it, but I don't know that. I have an inkling.
We'd like for that to be.
I want that to be it, if it's not true. But that she dressed in black and then always had a flower in her hair. So that was, yeah, she was like a little porcelain doll. So let's look at her chart.
All right, let's look at some charts. I gotta check the camera for a second.
Okay.
We're right at half an hour. So
wow.
Let me stop. Look at some charts for Elizabeth Short and Cleo Short. Is that his last name too? I don't remember.
I mean, it should be. Yes. Cleo Short.
Yes. All right. I have it on my little.
A real asshole.
Okay. Should we look at his first?
Let's look at his first. Let's say this piece of shit.
Let's just bash him a little bit first.
Yeah, I'm in the mood to talk some shit about this guy.
Oh man.
He sucks.
Traditionally, I gotta say before this, is normally you don't ever look at someone's charts with a bad intention. Typically, because there is a spiritual element to this, so you typically don't look at someone's chart and be like, what's wrong with them? For all of you who go out and meet somebody you might date and then, or look at your ex's charts or something, or someone you don't like, be careful doing that. You're asking for it.
Yeah,
you're just asking
prophecy.
For some negative energy coming your way. I just gotta say that. So looking at his chart, without too much of that backstory in mind, his sun is in Libra. It's cusping Scorpio. It's conjunct Mercury. So this can really make let me go through some basic placements first, because there's a lot happening here. He's got a lot of aspects. I also turn on a lot of aspects on my charts. And then his moon is in Aquarius, which is where my moon is. And then we don't have his rising, because we don't have his birth time. But his north node is in Virgo, conjunct Jupiter. So this is, he definitely, through life, it looks like he's heading towards a more and more detached. He's not there's no placements on here that show me that he is super lovey-dovey, or he's.
That is a shock.
He does have a grand trine from Vesta and the moon and the sun and Mercury, and that could kind of give some part of that, but there's so many squares. Okay. There's so many negative aspects.
So squares are bad.
Squares are bad generally. It's not that they're necessarily there's a good and bad, but there's an ease between the energies of placements, and there is a stress, a challenge between them. So a square is a challenging aspect.
Got it.
He's got a ton of those. So the grand trine is what's the only thing saving him here. He's got some grand trines going on. There's another one from Lilith, Neptune, and his north node in Jupiter and Virgo. So that's probably the only thing with all his squares, all the stress on his person. That's probably the only thing. He probably has some inner self-fulfilling kind of way of going about his life, where he doesn't need other people. Because I think the influence of other people probably just makes all these stressed placements way worse. He almost has a grand square. Maybe he does have a grand square. Not quite. Yeah, so let me turn off an aspect here, because we don't have his houses, actually. So, yeah, that looks better. Let's see, what should we look at?
Tell me. I'm along for the ride. This is great.
Man, he's got so many squares. I'm trying to figure out where to start.
He's overwhelmingly
a major thing you want to look at with someone is their moon placement. Everyone talks about their sun. His sun is in Libra. That's very generally a very pleasant place to have any kind of planet. It's a very balancing, very pleasant place. And Mercury being there would make it he's he likes to come off smart. He's good at communicating, very strong common sense, about how to be himself. But it looks like there is some stress coming something from Lilith and his South Node. So something from his past is something he cannot fix in his lifetime. He could not fix in his lifetime, affecting how he feels about himself as a person, his personality. It's kind of like that light you shine out at people. His like constantly has a shadow on it from his past because of his past. His Lilith square to the sun and Mercury is showing that when he is feeling empowered, when he empowers himself to move forward through like an obstacle in life, it causes problems to his physical self, like his
stress.
It could be a physical thing, or it could be another sort of like his light going out. So it could be a depression type of thing. It could be
like physical sickness.
It could be like maybe he can't think straight because it's hitting Mercury too. That's how you think. So when he tries to empower himself through something, it kind of goes to shit.
He's like shutting down.
It goes to shit.
I gotta get the fuck out of here.
So there's something from the past really hitting him. Yeah, definitely.
So that would make a lot of sense of why he was like, I lost everything, now we're broke, I can't rise up and help my family. I'm just gonna fake my death and
he can
move away.
Rise up.
It's fine.
Right, exactly. He can rise up internally, but not really externally, if that makes sense. Because he's got this inner grand trine with the moon and Vesta, like things he cares about, and then he's got this other grand trine with when he stands up for himself and his illusions on life, and where he's headed on his life path. But it looks like it's more of like a very practical, detached life path to me. Yeah, in Virgo, it's not necessarily that you're that detached, but a lot of his other placements are showing me that he's not really, he's just not down to be like caring. Like,
you know, this is going to require some effort, and I'm not sure that I have the energy or the time to deal with all you 6 women who I'm responsible for, and 5 of you that I co-created. What the fuck, this guy? Anyway.
If I could see what was in his 5th house, I mean, that usually shows a lot of like abundance and family type of things, especially when you look at like a Vedic chart. But I don't have his house, so that's kind of it's the only downside to this. We can talk about his moon now, which I prefaced earlier but didn't do.
Okay.
His moon is debilitated. It's part of the Grand Trine with his sun in Vesta, but it is squared by Neptune and Juno and Ceres. So, and then there's a quincunx to his north node, which is his life path, and Jupiter. It's a lot.
Wow.
So,
okay.
This is basically breaking that down. Your moon is your inner self, is your emotional self. It's how you feel things, how you are emotionally receiving information, how you process it on the inside. With this having a square to Neptune, Neptune is like your intuition, your perspective on life.
Okay.
I mean, his inner world has an awful perspective on his life. So he has a major challenge on either trusting his intuition. Maybe he could have had really bad dreams. That could have been a pattern for him, having bad dreams all the time. It could have been that he just really thinks the world is terrible. And then the squares to Juno and Ceres, this shows commitments in life and what you need to feel loved, and he just wasn't getting that. It seemed like he needed like some kind of scorpionic energy to feel loved and something he could commit to. But that was a challenge in his life as well. It looks like he wasn't going to be receiving that in an easy way. The quincunx to his north node looks like to me that as he goes through his life path, his emotional state is just going to be getting worse. Because as the further he gets through life, the more he heads down his life path, it's getting worse. It's a problem he can't solve. It's some kind of block. Whenever there's a quincunx, it's like a block there.
Mental, emotional.
You can't do. It could. I mean, it's definitely emotional because it's hitting his moon.
Okay.
His moon in Aquarius. Since I have my moon in Aquarius, I could talk about that a little bit. It's not that Aquarians are cold. A lot of people say that.
I've heard that actually a lot.
They're very cold,
Yeah.
or they just don't care. They're detached, and I mean in a way, yeah, they are detached. They're an air sign. It's not the most emotional place for the moon to be. A water sign would be much more emotional.
What?
A much more emotional
Pisces,
moon.
what's up?
I'm a Scorpio. I got a Scorpio stellium. I do have a lot of emotion, so maybe that's balancing my moon out a little bit. But when you have this, it's like a very thoughtful placement. It's kind of like your mind becomes a library. So it's
whoa, my eyes just got so wide.
Right. It's like if you are thinking about, or the way you process emotions, it's like you're just pulling books off the shelves and you're like trying to figure out what you're gonna do, and it's a caring placement, but it's not caring in a maternal way. It's not a nurturing mood.
Okay.
It's not a, oh my gosh, I want to take care of you. Like, oh my gosh, like what do you need? What do you need? Like, how can I help you? I love you so much. It's not so much that. It's more of like an altruistic. They're thinking on a bigger perspective.
Oh, okay.
So this is
That's
like,
cool.
maybe I can't, like if you had a problem, okay, with my Aquarian moon hearing your problem, I'm like, how can we fix it so no one has this problem ever again?
So you're like solving like world social problems versus like, I need to be here for you and comfort you.
Aquarius
versus a Pisces who is like, how can I make you comfortable right
how
now?
Can
how
I
can I serve
want to be
you?
compassionate to you.
Yes. How can
Pisces.
I pour good things into your heart right now?
Yes.
Like, that's a very
Cancer
Pisces.
wants to mother you through it. Scorpio wants to like delve down and help you through your dark problems, like in your deep emotional self. Aquarius wants to fix the social order of why it happened at all.
That is a really
it's
beautiful
perspective
in its own
way.
Yes, it really is. It's like very like a social psychology perspective where it's like, I want to look at the world as a whole.
I love sociology.
Yeah,
I think it really appealed to my Aquarian moon.
Getting those world problems.
Yeah, you're worried about the masses with that kind of placement. I also talk about Aquarius as cat-like. Because a cat, like a dog, would be like a Cancer. In this analogy, like a dog is like always there, and they're like always loving you.
I guarantee
like,
my dog is sitting on the other side of the door right now. I guarantee she wants out here so bad.
Can I come over and be? Yes. The Aquarius is the cat. Aquarius is like, I love you. I love all this. This is great. I'm gonna go do my own thing.
I'll let you know when I want affection.
I'll come over when it's time to do that. But like, I got like my own like perspective going here. That's kind of how I like to explain it, rather than cold.
I like that.
Yeah.
I feel like the Aquarians out there are gonna like that too.
Definitely. So yeah, that on top of having that kind of mindset on life and your emotions, with all of those debilitating factors, like not having what you need to feel loved, not being able to like have a good perspective on life or feel good about your choices.
You're probably gonna be a shitty dad.
You can't trust your gut. You can't. There's a lot of stress here. There's a million other things I could talk about, but we can move on.
Let's talk about the person that we really want to talk about. Miss Elizabeth Short.
Okay, what's our time like? Okay, we're good.
Oh my gosh, we're doing fantastic.
When I talk, I always feel like I've talked forever.
Because you're giving so much information. That's wise, because you are like giving so much information in one sentence.
So?
Yes, I'm loving this. It's so great.
Right.
I'm having such a good time with you. Oh my god.
Perfect. Okay, I hope. Also with these charts, if you guys want to pull these, I will put their birth information in the description so you can pull charts. I know a lot of people like to pull charts nowadays. Now you can do it online, so it's so easy.
I will not be pulling any charts for anyone anywhere ever.
But I would love in the comments if people started like just going over these charts with me.
Yeah.
That would be so fun. There's no way I could go through every detail of these charts in these podcasts. But I would love to have a discussion about these charts.
Yes, and if anybody has some awesome, fun details about anything I was unsure about with the actual murder and the story there, like, please.
Yes, because there's so many things you could find. And if anyone finds a birth time,
Oh.
I need birth
bonus
times.
points for the birth
Bonus
time.
points for birth
Yes.
time. You'll get a shout out. You'll get I don't know something.
$1.
Maybe I'll pull your chart and give you some of my opinions.
$1 is not a good price.
$1. We're gonna ship $1 to you.
One-
It's gonna cost more to ship the dollar
Yes.
than to
One
the actual
paper
dollars
dollar.
Oh my god. One literal paper dollar. We'll
Oh.
autograph it.
Yes, I think that sounds like a
Maybe.
fantastic price.
It'd be so bad.
Oh, good stuff.
You know, maybe you tell us what you want.
You name your prize. This is the ultimate prize where you choose it.
Oh my god.
Okay, no.
Let me see here. We got Elizabeth Short, Black Dahlia. We're gonna look at her natal chart first, and then we're gonna pull the time we think she died.
Yes, okay.
That's what I want to do.
So it's like a paranormal almost. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna be good. Here we
All
go.
right. Here we go. So her sun is in Leo. This is as soon as you started talking about her party life, this made absolute sense to me. When she's got her sun in Leo, Neptune in Leo, Mercury in Leo. That's Leo stellium. Leo really likes to live their life. They want to live it to the fullest.
Yes.
They want to feel. I mean, Leos are almost gifted abundance through they're blessed with abundance in their life.
Wow.
Leo, they got the energy from the sun just like coming through them. They're just that's why a lot of people say they're arrogant. Is they're just or people say if your Leo is going in a negative direction, it can come off arrogant.
Okay.
But generally, Leo is super fun-loving, playful. They want people around them to be having a good time.
Yeah.
That's very very loving placement.
Totally bet that's what she was like.
And having her sun there, it's like her life force, is like that, is that vibe. And then having her Neptune there, her North Node there, that is where she's headed in life, having this amazing, they also enjoy performing. A lot of Leo placements will enjoy performing.
Wow.
You kind of like the attention. There's nothing wrong with liking attention. They like some attention. Neptune there, that's her perspective on life. Her intuition is coming from that place. Her Mercury, that's the way she thinks. She thinks out loud. She probably was very vocal with her opinions.
Yes, I fucking hope so.
Yeah,
yes.
she was probably very, and that brings a light to her thinking. I mean, she was clever. She was clever. She was, from just looking at this, it looks like she was clever. She could speak her mind. She had a relatively good view on life. And that's where she was going, that's her life path. That's where she was destined to go. And it's almost like it really steered her into her fate. Her destiny, that kind of was her destiny for that to happen. It also makes sense that her body was found so publicly. Because when you look at this, the sun sign is, I can't see her houses, but her sun sign could represent her physical being. And being in Leo, that's put on spotlight. Her body was almost performing even after it died.
And it does seem like that is part of the shock value that the murderer wanted to do, that maybe it was somebody who didn't like a woman, being outgoing and partying and fun-loving and
being herself,
teaching a lesson and humiliating her and
putting it on show.
Yes.
Because her body being on show, having that sun in Leo, it's put on the show. It's put on as a show. It's awful. But that does show on her chart.
Yeah.
There's a quincunx coming from her sun to Mars and Vesta. And for me, interpreting this without houses, it looks like, her ambitions in life were blocked. And something she truly, truly cared about, what she was most devoted to, this is in Pisces, by the way.
Oh, yes.
She had this sort of flow to the way she Mars is your fiery passion. She had a Pisces flow to it.
Wow.
So that's really beautiful.
I want some of that.
We had Mars transiting through Pisces in December last year. So I don't know how your dancing and everything was in December, but I remember feeling it was a lot more flowy. You know, you get kind of like a flow rather than like an anger.
Actually, I was
passion.
only going to flow classes the month
Really?
of December. I was avoiding anything but the flow classes. That's super fun.
I took a break and I started only taking like floor work, kind of like.
That was all I wanted to do was flow. Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
that's that feeling. That's that feeling of that Mars in Pisces, and then having Vesta there. That's where my Vesta is as well. It's it really makes it like you are just so devoted to that otherworldly energy. Like it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And that for her was so beautiful, except it looks like it blocks her life from basically going on. There's this unstoppable force showing here from that like drive and that physical movement. You know, you can see physical movement through Mars, hitting her life force, her sun sign. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this well enough, but it really looks like there's an obstacle that she couldn't have avoided.
Okay.
By her living her life and moving into her life path. It looks kind of destined in a way.
That is so crazy.
If we're just reading this for a death.
That you can just see that.
If we're just reading her chart for a death, I mean, I couldn't look at your chart and be like, this is how you'll die.
Right.
That's also very arrogant and wrong to do. We do not do that.
Don't be an asshole.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite astrologers. He goes, all these astrologers predicting deaths out there are the biggest assholes ever.
What a piece of shit.
You know, because people will go to an astrologer and they'll tell them you're going to die in 2020. And what the hell is that? You don't know. Like, you can't assume to know. When you look at a death on a chart, it's really got to just be something that the chart will allow based on the transits going on around them.
Wow.
Personally, I also believe that you kind of are given some options in life. This is like a very common spiritual belief that like people have near-death experiences.
Right.
I've had a near-death experience. There's a video on my YouTube of this, but it's basically like you're maybe you signed an agreement spiritually to live this life under this energy that you're given in this birth chart. From the moment you were born in this life. And you're kind of given some outs, like, hey, like if it's too bad right now, maybe this is an option to leave, here's another option to leave, and here's a third option to leave. Generally, people say you're given three options throughout your life.
I've had those, but not near-death experiences. So it's been in a way of like, with what getting sober was to me, like I had hit such a bad point with it that it was like, it was almost like making a deal. Like, if I stop doing this, like, can I just be okay? Can I just have a life that's not absolute shit?
Yes.
Like, can I, and then taking that path and trusting that it was going to work out, and that everything bad that was going on just seemed to kind of fall into the cracks, and like it cleared this path that I didn't, and it was like a rebirth. It was like something I didn't know.
It was like, all right, here we're coming through out of this.
I didn't know I could have a good life. I didn't know I could do that. So it was kind of like that rebirth that you're talking about, but without the near-death experience.
Yeah. No, this can come in multiple forms.
Yes. So you haven't had a near-death experience. It doesn't mean.
And you never know. Mine was like a bus coming. Like I was almost hit by a bus.
Mean Girl style. You were about to Regina George all over the concrete. Oh.
I never thought about it that way.
That's all I would think about. I'm such a nostalgic dork.
I'm so mad, but also delighted you mentioned it. That's in my brain forever now.
Yeah, I'm glad you can connect the two. I'm glad I helped.
Yes.
I'm here to help.
And another thing with this, I'm not sure if she had any addictions. But Pisces, she does have a Pisces stellium.
Oh, she's so fucked.
Pisces, you're so fucked.
No.
Pisces it's super, super common for Pisces to find, they're looking for an escape.
Yep.
Anyone with a lot of Pisces energy, they're looking for an escape. You need to find a healthy escape. You need to find, it's super common for the people to find escape through drugs and alcohol or any other addiction. Maybe you're addicted to something.
Disorders.
Like anything like that. Something where you can kind of give yourself an illusion of like maybe control over life, or like just really it's mainly an escape for a Pisces.
Control is a big part of it for me too, though. Like control and escape, feeling like everything's out of control. I don't know what I'm doing. I've got this thing that I can like obsess over and like try to manipulate and control and make it this thing that's mine that nobody can take from me. It's a weird It's
look at your chart
weird
again.
thing. Girl, it's fucked up. I don't know.
But with this, having her with a stellium here, I mean, she really could have been looking for an escape with all the excitement in her life that she was really pushing towards. She was looking for excitement in life, probably partly as an escape. It's an opposition. A lot of these placements are an opposition for her, so it's not an exact one, but and it looks like she's coming from a colder place to this. She's really wanting to live her life, but there was an issue, and it must have really manifested poorly. I mean, obviously it did manifest really poorly for her. Her moon, we got to talk about her moon. Okay. And where we at time-wise. We got a few minutes to talk about her moon. Her moon is, I wouldn't call it debilitated. I would say she has a nice moon placement. It's in Cancer. The moon likes being in Cancer. It's very emotional, but like you don't hold a grudge too badly. Like, not that a Cancer moon can't hold a grudge, but they're less likely to hold a grudge. Okay. It looks like she has problems with, it's conjunct Pluto, so this means that she's even better at changing, her emotional self. She goes through transitions in life probably pretty well.
She's had to transition a lot
of times.
From childhood, when you have a disruption and chaos, like a lot of kids just learn to adapt. They learn that to be normal through the chaos, especially if it's happening. I can only imagine having 5 sisters. First of all, that many girls in a house sounds horrifying. And then to be living on just a bookkeeper's salary. Back then, when a woman is the head of the household, only doing it by herself, that was so uncommon. I'm sure that she had to make a lot of adjustments,
Absolutely. That's definitely showing as a pattern for her in her life.
Yeah.
That's another way you can view a chart, is these are the patterns you're going to be going through life.
Yeah.
Over and over. It's like your life is sort of programmed loosely.
That's so crazy to figure out.
I have so many dumb astrology, what's the word?
A phrase?
Like a simile, but a metaphor. And analogy, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yes.
I have so many astrology analogies, it's stupid. Alright, so off of this, we have, looks like probably an issue with commitment. Maybe she doesn't really want to be married. Maybe maybe if she had lived longer, she could have overcome this, but it looked like she was not really looking for a commitment.
It looks like she was dating some unavailable people also. Maybe that was a selection because they weren't looking for commitment. I don't know.
I mean, it looks like she wasn't, at least for some part of her life, she dealt with an issue with commitment. And I could see that. It could also be showing through based off of a commitment from her mother not having a commitment. The moon can also show how you feel about your mother. So this can be showing a challenge, a stress with commitment from the mother, and a very changeable mother. There are some positive placements, which is why I didn't say it was debilitated. Basically, we've got her inner self really loved that flow we were talking about, how she could flow through life, and really she wanted to kind of escape in this water sign kind of place. So then we've got that. We've got another sextile to Ceres, and Ceres is what you need to feel loved in the world. So this is the energy you need around you to feel loved. Hers was in Taurus. She wanted some kind of stability.
Yeah, Taurus is a really stable sign.
She wanted some kind of she wanted to either accumulate stability or accumulate things. She might have felt better emotionally when she had some material things she really liked, or
like a super cute dress,
maybe little collections or something. It's not something she necessarily had to have, but it would have. Oh, I say that. I mean, she's gonna feel a lot more emotionally secure if she has that. Yeah. It looks like it's part of her escapism too.
Yeah. Totally makes sense.
Her Chiron is in Aries, so Aries is a little bit of... Chiron shows a place where you are... we got a minute.
Oh my god!
Chiron shows a place where you are vulnerable.
Okay.
So this is a place where you are at fault, but it's not your... If something happens to you and it's not your fault. Okay. There's something that you couldn't have done anything about it. It's
your life circumstances.
Yes,
basically.
It's basically it's usually a life circumstance.
Okay.
For her in Aries, Aries is aggression. Aries is passion. It's that fiery energy. It's also the self, the ego. So this could manifest as like violence to her being herself. It's not necessarily her doing it to herself, but it could be like it's a combative energy. That's the best word I could say.
Because there was a speculation about the boyfriend that she had that was abusive towards her, so it could have been her attraction to abusive relationships potentially.
That could definitely
or being
be
involved in an abusive relationship and kind of feeling like, that's the kind of love I expect and deserve is an abusive form of love. So I don't know. It could be related.
She does have her Venus in Cancer. She has a really nice Venus placement. It looks like how she loved was not the issue. It looks like it's all these other trauma. It wasn't something she was doing necessarily, I think.
Okay.
She looks like she's a very caring person. A very caring person.
Awesome. Yes.
She's got that nurturing aspect to her.
That's fantastic. And just her, but
I mean, her chart to me, I mean, it looks like she has some very strong energies coming through. Like, she's got really strong Leo energy coming through, really strong Pisces, really strong Cancer energy coming through. And those are, that's kind of drama. That does create drama in your life when you have those energies combined. It's overall she seems like a very lovely person. I don't know.
Such a bummer. So now that you're all really bummed out about what a beautiful soul that the world lost in a really devastating, fucked up way, we have a favor to ask. So we're trying to come up with a name for this whole experience. And
this whole experience.
This was an experience.
Yes, it was an experience.
Hopefully a good one. I definitely had a lot of fun and really enjoyed it because I love these topics and I think it's different. It's not a conversation that people are really having. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it and had fun with it and can play along with us. But we've got some fun kind of ideas we've been flirting with for a name.
Yes.
But some of them are really silly. We're not sure if we're on the right track or not. But
I'm going to put up a poll.
Yes, we
for
put up a poll.
Our name for our new experience we're giving everyone.
That's what we're going to call it.
We're going to continue with more cases. You can feel free to send us your favorite cases.
What do you want to hear about?
We love to talk about murder trials, murder investigations, paranormal experiences. I'd love to get into some ghost.
Some fun ghost activity. And it doesn't have to be just a murder victim. It can be like a serial killer if you're interested in
like super interesting charts to look at.
Yeah, like really just anybody with a cool chart. Maybe this is maybe it's the historical chart experience.
Ooh.
What is this?
This could be so many things.
Yeah.
It's got to have a dark spin on it or we're not going to look at it. So come on.
The stars aligned for murder. No, I don't know. That was my really bad name.
Yeah. So check out my Instagram at Aruka Rose. I'm gonna put up some things on my story trying to figure out a name.
And then you can find me. I'm at Britt BRITT _Oakley, like Annie Oakley, like the glasses, on Instagram as well. So
this has been fun. I really had a good time. Yes. I feel like we're gonna get in a better flow with this. You don't have to kind of. What's the phrase?
Just be patient.
Be patient with us.
We're working on this. We're new. I'm new. You're like kind of experienced.
I've made a few videos, but not anything like this.
I try to not be on videos ever if I don't have to, but here I am.
You did it. Oh my god. So we're gonna get some mics. We're gonna get our setup going.
We're gonna get professional.
We're gonna get a name. We're gonna get all of it.
We're gonna become so legit. Thank you for being here. It was fantastic.
Thank you for being here. So hit subscribe. Leave a comment below either on the chart or the story. I want to have a conversation for sure.
That's what we want to do. We want a conversation. We want to interact. We want opinions. We want feedback. So,
yeah. Thank you for watching so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.